I've something special to share with you today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your new Xbox 360.
Exclusive games have long been one of the biggest selling points for every console to come out. Fans will die on their heels of Halo, Uncharted, or Mario respectively. But as this generation of consoles start to come to the end of their life cycle, with the new consoles having already been announced and teased, I think that the best innovation of all is only just starting in the gaming industry. One that might make exclusive games more important for console sales than ever before. And that innovation is...
Let me now unveil...
Crossplay. Crossplay games aren't exactly a new thing, and there's been a number of games since Final Fantasy XI first allowed cross-platform gaming in the previous generation of consoles. But while the feature and idea in itself aren't new, it has been a largely overlooked one that most games never implemented into their multiplayer modes. So, we know that the technology has been available for over a decade now. Then why isn't it a commonplace feature in most games? Surely the game developers would make a lot more money that way, right? Well, that's not how the console manufacturers saw it. It makes sense from a business standpoint when you really think about it. You make your users only be able to play with people on your console, and in turn all of their friends will have to buy your console if they want to play with them too. That's why I bought an Xbox even though I've always been a PlayStation gamer beforehand. And by trapping your users into your own console's ecosystems, wherein the games, controllers, and sometimes even headsets work only with that console, you ensure that every customer you get, you keep at the very least until the end of that console generation. So what changed? Why now are we suddenly seeing more games starting to go cross-platform? Well, at the very start of this generation, we had games like War Thunder and a bunch of other free-to-play games that let console users play with PC gamers, which we'll get into a little bit more later. But even though the tech was there, Sony and Xbox still refused to work together, or with Nintendo, in order to allow their players to play together. The issue was that none of those cross-platform games generated the amount of hype and customer requests for crossplay to be taken into serious consideration by either party. Cue in the most loved, the most hated, the most watched, and probably the most played game in recent memory, Fortnite. Now, love it or hate it, Fortnite has been an extremely influential game. It's a free-to-play game that makes more money than most full-price games that tack on hundreds of dollars worth of DLC on their back. And on top of that, its accessibility, with it being available on everything from your phone, console, PC, or even a Mac, made it go from 0 to 100 faster than anyone could have anticipated. With no little help, of course, from the streaming community to carry the hype way past the game's initial release. We're talking about the Battle Royale here, not the single-player mode, which is largely overlooked. Long story short, with pressure from Epic Games and an overwhelming amount of gamers, along with the obvious amount of money to be made off the back of Fortnite, Sony and Microsoft finally started to take crossplay seriously. Mainly Sony, who had been very reluctant in this generation to allow crossplay, with Xbox believing their system provided the better gameplay experience. In late June 2018, the chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment made a statement in response to the Fortnite crossplay request saying, "We're hearing it, we're looking at a lot of possibilities." You can imagine that the circumstances around that affect a lot more than just one game. I'm confident we'll come to a solution which will be understood and accepted by our gaming community, while at the same time supporting our business. And finally, on September 26, 2018, Sony finally announced that it would be allowing cross-platform play for a selected number of games, starting with Fortnite on that same day, with Rocket League and more to join soon after. Finally! A decade after its first implementation, proper console-to-console to PC crossplay is here. And with big household names leading the way for crossplay games, and even the upcoming Call of Duty Modern Warfare planning to go cross-platform from day one, I think it's fair to say that crossplay is here to stay. This is a great thing for us both as gamers and consumers. Soon we'll no longer have to choose our gaming platform based on the choices of our friends, nor do we have to spend a hefty amount of coin on having to buy multiple platforms just to be able to play with all of our friends. Not only that, but the games that will support cross-platform play will have a lot more longevity, since there will be a much bigger overall number of players that are able to jump into the same servers regardless of their platforms. Of course, not every game is going to go cross-platform, but going back to the console-exclusive games, this means that they'll have to be better than ever before, and the system specs need to become better and better to be able to sell people on buying the consoles. whichever way you look at it, it's a winning situation for us, the end users, except for one thing. Yes, it is wonderful to be able to play with everyone on every platform, unless, that is, you're playing a competitive shooter. That's where PC players will have a massive, undeniable advantage. And while you can argue that you can kick just the same amount of ass with a controller against a PC player, there's no denying that it takes far less training and skill to be able to aim considerably better than any seasoned player with a controller on PC. Even the Xbox has superior design to the PS4, and this is coming from a lifelong PS fan, but it's still no match for a mouse. There is, however, a solution for that, first of which is obviously making a setting that allows you to opt out of playing against PC players and vice versa. But on top of that, consoles have for a little while now allowed the use of keyboard and mouse on very select games, and going forward, it's not entirely unreasonable to assume that the support for mouse and keyboard will become more commonplace in console releases of games. When it's all said and done, crossplay is an overwhelmingly positive step in the right direction from an industry that is often too greedy to allow this kind of progress. Gaming is for everyone, and as cringy as this may sound, regardless of what you play or how you play it, we all belong to the same massive community. We are all gamers, each of us for our own reasons, with our own game preferences, our own play styles, and it's about time that we were able to freely choose our own platform and still be able to play together as one big community.